Hi folks, and welcome to Power Negotiating. Today we're going to talk about subject to clauses. Now, when most people say subject to clauses, they're typically talking about buying a property subject to the existing mortgage. We're not going to discuss that today, although that is a great topic to go ahead and discuss a little bit later on. I want to talk about conditional escape clauses. Imagine that you're in a plane and you're flying along and all of a sudden you run out of gas. And you're headed straight for a mountain. There's no place to get around the mountain. You're going to crash and you only have a choice of where you're going to hit. And when you're 15 feet from hitting the mountain, you press a little button and you go back to where you were before it ran out of gas. Would that be a feature that you want in a plane? Yeah, absolutely. I've got good news. We have that in real estate. Let me tell you what I mean. Let's say that you go out to take a look at a property and you talk with the owner and everything looks good. You've done a little bit of preliminary due diligence and everything looks good. At this point you want to make an offer. You make an offer, but you put a couple of clauses in there. This offer is subject to acceptable financing. What does that mean? Acceptable financing means whatever is acceptable to you. Now, could you get a all-cash offer where someone's going to give you all cash with no interest for 30 years and be unacceptable to you? Yeah. So this is subject to acceptable financing is a great exculpatory clause. Legally, that's what they call it. Old-time real estate investors call it a weasel clause. So we're not going to say weasel clause because that sounds sort of fishy. You want to be able to hit reset and not get into the deal if you don't want to. Next clause. This offer is subject to acceptable title. What does that mean? Every property has a history, and a title search basically goes back and it finds out if there are any liens and judgments on the property and also who has the right to sell that property to you. Now, when you're trying to buy a property, do you need to get title insurance? Absolutely not. You don't need title insurance until you try to sell it. Well, all these properties, we're hoping to sell it one day. I want you to never buy a property unless you get title insurance. What does this clause give you right here? Let's say that there's a lien on the property of $100,000, and that lien is going to carry on to you. It's not going to be paid off by the seller. Guess what? We might want to walk away from the deal. So you always want to make sure that there's an escape clause or weasel clause in there that will allow you to get away from the deal. Here is another escape clause. This property is subject to approval by financial partners. What the heck does that mean? Whatever you want it to mean. Who's your financial partner? It could be your wife, it could be your girlfriend, it could be your family members. You could say, you know, my financial partner is my dog Spot. And he said, "Roof," and that's just a deal killer. So you can always go ahead and use that. Now, here is another variant on that. This offer is subject to approval by financial advisors. What the heck does that mean? Whatever you want it to mean. And the reason you would use that is if you find something that you really don't want to do the deal, you want to be able to get out. Now, every time I do an offer, I have at least one of these in there. And if you don't have one of these in there, and you find something and you try to get out of the deal, pretty much you're going to have to give up your earnest money deposit. And anything that, I hate to give up an earnest money deposit. I never have done it. I should have in a couple of cases, but you want to make sure that you have at least one of these in here. Let me give you another escape clause. I'm not going to call the weasel clauses because that has a negative connotation. This offer is subject to acceptable termite inspection. Is that important? This one time, I was looking at this fourplex in Leesburg, and this was years ago. This was back in the mid-70s. And, gosh, am I that old? Anyway, I was going to be buying it for $48,000. A fourplex of $48,000, The rents didn't have to be all that much in order to go ahead and cover everything. Well, I went ahead and put that clause in there, and I did a termite inspection. And the termite inspection came back, and it said that it needed about $40,000 in termite repairs. I said, okay, $48,000 in purchase price, $40,000 in termite repairs. There's something wrong with this picture. And so I backed out of the deal. Now, I offered to go ahead and go through with the deal if they would lower the price a little bit. I'd even split the difference with them, only lower it $20,000, and I'll go ahead and go forward with the deal. They declined. You can always use an escape clause as a further negotiating item to use to negotiate the deal. I don't do that too often. It's only when I either walk away from the deal or they work with me. But if they won't do that, you always have the chance to walk away. Now, I had this one client, and he made an offer on a property. And the realtor was in this office. They had a mortgage broker in the same office. They had a title insurance company and attorney in the same office. And he didn't put any escape clauses in. Well, it turned out that the appraisal, which was also done in the same office, was off by about $100,000. And he had been told by the realtor it was worth X amount of money. It was actually worth $100,000 less than what he thought it was. He tried to get out of the deal, and they insisted that he have a clean contract with no escape clauses. And he tried to get out of the deal, and they said, you have to go through with this, otherwise we're going to go ahead and you'll forfeit your $30,000. And he didn't want to do the deal, but he was forced to. Guess what? He had to get that deal or lose his $30,000. He went forward with the deal, and he lost more than that. Sometimes it's okay to lose your earnest money deposit. However, I don't want you to ever lose your earnest money deposit, and the way you get around that is you have escape clauses. Next escape clause. This offer is subject to acceptable appraisal. What does acceptable mean? Whatever you want it to mean. Let's say that you go in there and you find that it's not worth quite as much as you thought it was. Can you get out of the deal? Yes, you can. This offer, here's another escape clause that you might want to use. This offer is subject to I run out of escape clauses. Use these, and what you'll find is that you're going to have a couple of realtors that don't like them because they realize this is a way for you to get out. And what I would tell a realtor, is this a good deal? If it is, great, I'm going to go forward with it. But if there's something that you're not telling me, rather than me taking you to court and suing you for non-disclosure, what I want to do is I want to be able to get out of this in a clean and simple way so that you don't lose your license. Is that fair?